So let's talk about Miss Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill, known to many wrestling fans, basically casual wrestling fans, straight up AEW fans, or just overall wrestling fans that enjoy the product either way, WWE, AEW, New Japan, you name it. Jade Cargill was a fixture of the AEW women's division, mostly a fixture in the AEW women's TBS division because they do have two singles championships for the women, that being the world title and the TBS title. Well, recently it came out almost, I wouldn't say immediately after she made her return, after being gone for a few months, but basically almost out of nowhere, not even a week after she returns, we get the announcement that Jade Cargill is leaving AEW and heading to WWE. And it's further been confirmed as of late that she's expected to be at the Performance Center, the WWE Performance Center, this week in Orlando, and that she has signed with the company. Now, what's crazy about this is she has gone on record, and many people point this out upon hearing this news. She has gone on record and saying, "Oh, WWE is not for me." Again, people point this out, recently, as of today, yesterday, as soon as this news broke, that, she has said, she has basically said that she is AEW through and through, basically. That WWE is not the place for her. That her and Tony Khan are tight. And yet, here you have this news coming out that her contract with AEW is expired, and now she is WWE bound. And on top of that, not only is she WWE bound, but that she'll also be, after some time at the Performance Center, she'll be basically hitting the main roster. Yeah, you heard me. She'll be hitting the main roster and skipping NXT. However long this takes, that's up to WWE because let's be honest, with the Performance Center, they are more strict. Whether you like WWE or you don't, they are more strict, of their talent, being trained correctly. Now, Jade, behind the scenes, has been basically trained. When she was in AEW, she was being trained by a numerous amount of talents, but most notably, she was being trained by Bryan Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan. So because she was getting that training from him, she did have a bit of improvement in the ring, especially when she was still TBS champion. You saw that, and people, commented and gave her praise for that, especially when they found out why she was improving. Now, she's going to be going to WWE Performance Center, where she's going to have more than just, a Bryan Danielson helping her. She's going to have a numerous amount of women and men, legends, if you will, trainers, helping her improve her in-ring skill. Especially if WWE's plan is to shoot her to the main roster. Again, however long that takes is up to WWE. I mean, if Vince McMahon was fully controlling the company like he used to, and not Ari Emanuel, who's doing it now thanks to the Endeavor deal, there's no doubt Vince McMahon would not only have her signed, but Vince McMahon would literally have her on the main roster almost a month, or maybe less than a month, after she was gone from AEW. And that's a fact. That is an absolute fact. But because Triple H is head of creative, and since basically Nick Khan is president of WWE, and will probably, go back and forth with Triple H more so than Vince now, there's no doubt Triple H is going to suggest let her have time. Shawn Michaels would even say, give her time in the Performance Center before we move her up. So the way I look at it is if the plan still, because plans can change, if the plan still is for her to be main roster bound right off the bat, then I could expect maybe her showing up around Survivor Series. That's what I think is going to happen. I think if we get a women's Survivor Series match, or women's War Games match, I should say, I would expect Jade Cargill to be part of one of those teams. Either she's part of a team, let's say, led by Rhea Ripley, or she's part of a team led by Raquel Rodriguez or Nia Jax or whoever Rhea's feuding with at that time. I can expect Jade Cargill to be involved, maybe as a mystery opponent. Just like I kind of picture sometimes the team of Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes and, AJ Styles or whoever, comprises, one team, the babyface team for War Games. Just as I imagine them, kind of saying, oh, we have a partner, you'll see who it is on Survivor Series, and then out comes CM Punk to the shock of Roman and Paul Heyman, because, historically, that could play into, and continuity-wise, I should say, you have that look on Paul Heyman's face, it'll be like you have that connection there, and you would have Paul Heyman being more, I guess you could say more of a wise man, more like more confident, more, of an advisor to Roman, saying, hey, don't try to talk back with this guy. He'll murder you, on that mic. He'll murder you. So, I could see, but getting back to Jade, I could see her being involved in that kind of situation where she would debut like that. If she did, now the question is she going to debut as Jade Cargill, or are they going to give her another name? My prediction is she's going to debut as Jade. She will debut as Jade Cargill, because I think that's her real name. And as far as we know, AEW has not copyrighted it, so I can expect Jade to show up as Jade Cargill. I can. But what's interesting about this, though, is you have fans, talking up a storm about this, and some fans not being, totally sure as to, whether or not she is WWE bound, at least for the Performance Center, right away. Some people are even coming out and saying, oh, no, hold it. Her contract is not up till January. Yeah. And then you have, because as we know, we're in a wrestling boom era, if you will, where fans have to choose sides. It's like, it's like to the fans, there's no in the middle, to where you can overall enjoy, where you can be someone that just enjoys the product overall. You got to choose one side or the other. And that's it. And there are fans going back and forth about this with Jade, about Jade moving on to WWE. Some are saying, you AEW fans didn't like her when she was there and you felt she needed work and everything. And now you're mad she's leaving and now you're showing your admiration. And then you have, and that's coming from, let's say, the WWE fanboys or whatever, or even fellow AEW fanboys and girls. Well, you have that other side that consists of AEW fanboys and girls, or even WWE fanboys and girls, coming out and saying, well, it's not that we didn't say we didn't like her, we just said she needed more improvement, more time, and stuff like that. And if that would happen, we'd be behind her more. You see, you have people going back and forth. You have people calling each other hypocrites because, they felt one way about her in AEW, and now that she's leaving, they feel differently. Well, you have the other side coming out and saying, well, you never liked Jade. You never liked her because she was in AEW. Now you do. And here's the thing about that. I do not recall once, ladies and gentlemen, where a WWE fan where a WWE fan came out and said, oh, I don't like Jade Cargill. I never heard that once. In fact, if anything, I've always heard fans being like, she looks and feels like more of a fit for WWE. That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. That fans would look at her and say she has the look and she has the feel that's someone that belongs in WWE. And now that's actually happening. And from what I can tell, being someone that likes wrestling overall and kind of being on the outside looking in, I think that's why AEW fans that hated her at first or disliked her at first, being pushed down their throats in AEW and having the long reign as TBS champion as she did, and now all of a sudden they kind of had a change of heart. I think it's because basically what the WWE fans would say is coming to light. It's now becoming a reality, and they don't like that. They don't like the fact that certain talents that they have on the AEW, or that AEW has on its roster, they don't like the fact that when somebody on the other side comes out and said, oh, that person has the look and feel of a WWE star, and they probably fare better in WWE. And then, they don't like hearing that because they know that might become a reality and they don't want it to. They don't want it to. In fact, some people have come out, one comment I actually read said that, oh, her in-ring skills need work. She needs time for her in-ring skills to get better. And it's like, okay, we understand that, but did you not listen to what other people have pointed out? They pointed out she has improved thanks to trainings by Bryan Danielson and others. And now she's going to get even more training, more proper training at the Performance Center. And yeah, they're going to probably take a little longer with her because they're going to want to make sure, hey, they're going to want to make sure, like, hey, let's make sure she's got everything down pat. There's no mistakes. She has an understanding of how things are done here and go from there. And I think, honestly, and I'm not saying this as a fan of Jade or to kiss up to Jade or anything like that, but I think, honestly, when you look at her and you look at what she brought to the table in AEW for the time she was there, she's the kind of person that will pick up on the whole WWE aspect of things just like that. And I don't think anybody, watching this or listening to this would deny that. But yeah, Jade Cargill going to WWE. Look, I know straight up AEW fans are not going to like it. That's the honest truth. Even if they liked her or not, they're not going to like it because here's the thing about this wrestling boom, if you want to call it that, compared to the original wrestling boom of the late, of the early to mid 90s. And that's basically the fact that you have to have, it's the fact that basically, it's the fact that basically, when you sign with a major company, you should be part of that company for your whole career. And that's it. To fans then, and even more so now, when you sign with a company, even at the start of said company, or you're part of said company's inaugural, year, to them, you are meant to be part of that company for life. There's no moving on. Your AEW for life, or your New Japan for life, or your Impact for life, or your MLW for life, or your WWE for life. Even back then in the mid 90s, fans were like that. You were either WWF for life, WCW for life, ECW for life. You get the idea. And it's more so that way nowadays. Because a lot of fans, when they saw Cody go to WWE or go back to WWE, a lot of them were upset because he was there from the beginning. He was there with AEW from its inception, considered somewhat of an AEW original. And, to them, when he decided he was going to hop back to WWE and take everything that made who he was, on the indies and AEW with him, they were upset. Because to them, Cody Rhodes is AEW for life. He doesn't need to move anywhere else. And that's how they feel. I mean, there's no doubt they probably got on their knees and thanked the Lord above that Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, the Elite, re-signed for several more years with AEW. I'm sure they got on their hands and knees and thanked the Lord above because to the fans, the Elite are AEW for life and they don't need to go anywhere else. And now you look at the situation with Jade Cargill and it's like, even though they may have not liked her, they looked at her as not only an AEW original, but an AEW lifer. That, she's not going to go anywhere else. She's stuck with it. She's going to stay with us forever. But that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. So now they're upset about that. And they're finding, and unfortunately, and this is true for any wrestling promotion that loses somebody to the competition and how fans feel about it. Now you have fans basically trying to come up with different reasonings as to why she can't go, or why she can't go just yet, or this and that. like I mentioned, some people say, oh, well, her contract's not up till January. Yeah. She's got still a few more months. Or they're like, oh, well, her in-ring skills still need work. So she needs to keep training under Bryan Danielson and all that. Or, well, her contract's not officially up to the end of the week. Tony Khan still has time to sign her, and I bet she'll sign. You see, you have them coming up with all these different reasons. Even though you have reliable sources like Fightful Select and PW Insider and others coming out and saying, her to WWE is a done deal. Her showing up at the Performance Center and training to learn the WWE way of things, as well as kind of improve, if not enhance, what she's already been taught by the likes of a Danielson. You have all these reliable sources coming out and saying, it's pretty much a done deal, it's locked, it's finished. There's nothing to whine and cry about anymore. But again, you still have fans, coming up with these different reasonings. And yes, I'll admit it, you have WWE fanboys and fangirls jumping up in joy saying, yes, we got another one. Yes, we got Jade. Yes. And then, of course, you have some fans, like let's say JD. You have someone like JD from NY206 coming out and basically saying, well, yeah, it's a big loss. It's a loss for AEW. It's a big loss for the women's division. But how big of a loss is it? Since she was seemingly always protected and everything, and how big of a loss is it and all that? That Tony Khan's losing somebody that now frees up more opportunity for the women on in that division. Because let's be honest, Jade had a lot of spotlight on her. Jade had a lot of focus on her to the point, in my opinion, and I think there were plans and talks of doing this, of her becoming AEW Women's Champion after having her run with the AEW TBS title. I mean, there was probably even plans to make her a double champion, with both championships. But that's not going to come to pass now. Because the next time we see her on television will be, at the earliest I look at, Survivor Series as a mystery partner for whatever women's War Games teams are involved and whoever side she's going to be on. Or, if not that, the latest we could see her is the Royal Rumble. That's the latest we could see her is the Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble. But, yeah, you again, even though you have these reliable sources coming out and saying it's all pretty much a done deal, you still have fans that just don't want to accept it. And I'm not just talking, again, the straight up die-hard AEW fans, but I'm talking some fans overall. Some fans that like both products, but can't really register that Jade's going to go from AEW to WWE. And others in that overall community being like, well, it's not a big deal, her going from one company to another. I mean, on one hand, she's freeing up a lot of precious TV time for the women in AEW. Well, on the other hand, WWE garners them, pretty much a decently named talent to add to the women's division and possibly give us some future dream matches, once she's, allowed to come onto television that, we've been thinking about but never thought would happen. So you got all these different thought processes going around, but the fact of the matter is, in closing, guys, Jade Cargill, whether you like it or not, is WWE bound. She is WWE bound. She's expected to be at the Performance Center this week. And like I said, the earliest I see her showing up could be Survivor Series as a mystery partner for one of the two War Games, women's War Games teams. Or the latest I could see is the Women's Royal Rumble. So, yeah, it's a reality. I know some don't want to, accept it. But to me, this is just another example, just like with Cody last year. This is just another example of some fans, even mostly the diehard AEW fans, but even some of the overall casual fans, not wanting to accept or believe this is being a reality and that this is happening and that they feel that she should have remained and stayed with All Elite Wrestling. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about Jade going to WWE? Do you think it's a mistake to shoot her straight up to the main roster right away? Or do you think WWE has a plan, knows what they're doing, and that they're going to wait until at least Survivor Series at the earliest or Royal Rumble at the latest to debut her? Let me know down below in the comments as well as the live chat during the premiere, and I'll talk to y'all later.